The unthinkable happened in Midland, Texas on October 14, 1987, when Jessica McClure Morales, better known as Baby Jessica, fell into a well in her aunt's backyard. She was only 18 months old when she tumbled down into the darkness of that shaft. It took rescuers working around the clock 56 hours to free her from the 8-inch stone well casing at a depth of 22 feet below ground level. The story of Baby Jessica's triumphant rescue was broadcast across the nation and was later adapted into a 1989 made-for-TV film entitled Everybody's Baby: The Rescue of Jessica McClure. It's been 34 years since Baby Jessica was pulled from that narrow well. Let's check in with her and see where Jessica's life has taken her in the 3+ decades since her rescue. The rescue. After falling down the well, firefighters and police from Midland came up with a plan to drill a shaft parallel to the one Baby Jessica was lodged in. After completing that shaft, they planned to drill yet another horizontal tunnel to rescue her. Seeking the help of oil drillers from around the area, officials hoped they'd be able to free Jessica quickly, but their optimism was put to the test when it was discovered that the well was encased by rock. The jackhammers that rescuers had on hand were likewise determined to be inadequate for the task, seeing as how they were designed for downward, not horizontal drilling. Eventually, a mining engineer arrived at the scene and volunteered his service to help coordinate the rescue effort using a relatively new technology called water jet cutting to cut through the rock surrounding the well shaft. Even with this piece of tech at their disposal, rescuers began to grow worried as it took more time than anticipated to make progress. 45 hours after Baby Jessica had fallen into the well, the parallel shaft and horizontal tunnel were complete. While drilling, rescuers could hear the distinct sound of Jessica singing her favorite song, the theme to Winnie the Pooh. Once they had finished drilling, a roofing contractor named Ron Short, who had been born without collarbones, volunteered to go down into the shaft since he had the ability to collapse his shoulders and squeeze his way into tight spaces. The rescue team considered his offer, but ultimately, a paramedic named Robert O'Donnell was able to squeeze into the tunnel and free Jessica from her lodged position in the well. When they finally reached her, Jessica had one leg above her forehead, a gash on her forehead, and an injured foot. After O'Donnell wrestled her free, he handed Jessica to a fellow paramedic, who then carried her up to safety. Once out of the shaft, that paramedic then handed her off to another, who carried her to a nearby ambulance that had been standing by. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already, and stick around to see what Jessica's life has been like since her rescue. Media coverage and aftermath. After being rescued, Baby Jessica had to have one of her toes amputated due to gangrene that had set in when it lost circulation while trapped. The gash on her forehead, which was caused when her head rubbed against the well wall, healed, but she was left with a scar. In total, she needed 15 surgeries to tend to her injuries. Fortunately, however, she was able to make a full recovery. Despite how dramatic the incident was, Jessica says she has no memory of it. On the national level, CBS covered the rescue effort in depth as it unfolded. Throughout the whole ordeal, local ABC affiliate KMID-TV received phone calls from news organizations and worried citizens from around the world asking for the latest information. After she'd recovered from her injuries, Jessica and her parents went on live with Regis and Kathy Lee to discuss the incident. In 1988, photographer Scott Shaw of the Odessa American was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for spot news photography for his photo of Baby Jessica's rescue. While Baby Jessica's rescue was certainly miraculous, sadly not everything was happily ever after for those involved. Her parents divorced, citing irreconcilable differences in 1990. They were only 18 when they were suddenly thrust into the spotlight. After their daughter's rescue, they found themselves overwhelmed by the whirlwind of publicity that had suddenly become a central part of their lives. Their divorce was an especially messy one, and the tabloids covered every bit of gossip they could get their hands on. Fortunately, both parents went on to remarry. The paramedic who pulled her from the well, Robert O'Donnell, sadly committed suicide on April 27, 1995, at the age of 37 by shooting himself in the head. It's thought he suffered from severe PTSD in the years following Baby Jessica's rescue. Jessica's life post-rescue. Baby Jessica's childhood remained fairly normal despite the media fiasco she'd been a part of. It wasn't until she was 5 years old that she learned what had happened to her when she was a baby. While watching an episode of the series Rescue 911 that covered her rescue, she asked her stepmother who the little girl was who fell down the well. In 2002, 15-year-old Jessica told reporters the incident, quote, bored her. In that interview, she also disclosed she was living with rheumatoid arthritis. After graduating from Midland's Greenwood High School in 2004, Jessica McClure went on to marry the love of her life, Daniel Morales, at the Church of Christ in Notrees, Texas, on January 28, 2006. The couple met at a daycare facility where Jessica had worked alongside her sister. Since then, they've been busy raising a family of their own. Jessica and Daniel welcomed a baby boy into their lives in 2007, and 2 years later, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl. When Jessica turned 25 in 2011, she got access to a trust fund that had been set up by her parents and was comprised of donations she'd received from around the world. She used some of those funds to buy her home and says she plans on using the rest to pay for her children's college tuition. In 2017, she was interviewed by People magazine. Reflecting back on her experience getting rescued from that well, she expressed her belief that God had been on her side that day. She went on to say her life was a miracle. Jessica's life certainly is a bit of a miracle. Alongside her husband and 2 children, Simon and Cheyenne, Jessica counts her blessings daily as she works as a special education teacher's aide at a local elementary school. Daniel, who goes by Danny, works as a foreman at a pipe supply company. While some people might think Jessica wound up wealthy from that trust fund, in reality, much of the $1.2 million of the trust was wiped out by the economic disaster of 2008. The remainder she plans on holding to make sure her children have a decent head start in life. Jessica's children are finally now old enough to comprehend what she went through in 1987. She told the outlet they've both also Googled images of the scene of the rescue. The main thing Jessica says she hopes her children can learn from her experience is the importance of always remaining humble. She also wants them to know there are still good people out in the world. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you remember baby Jessica being rescued from that well? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.